Very simple. Yes, we were going to do a live cast with Kelsey there on Sunday, but I've decided not to do it. And not really broadcast this thing, but there is happening on the real side with the Queen of Orion, and that is that it's already been set up for her to be sentenced into the Phantom Zone like Inky, and so we've given her more time. And so we're going to see how this will help offset things on the Earth and other places. But I've decided not to market it. That's all. So that's all on the real side, because that's happening. It's we're not going to do a show, a radio show. I was going to do one even with Lance White, but I couldn't get a hold of him. So I'm going to put this off. I saw some things on the real side last night, so I'm going to put that part of it off. But we do have a website Kelsey's created, universalfiles.strikingly.com, that has the image and the 3 universal files that I wrote about this, letting people know and what's going on. So yeah. So we're just simply doing something. Yeah. Yeah. Because these people are continually destroying everything. And so, and there'll be more. So I kind of, I'm assuming you read especially the third one, the third universal file.
I also assume, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Facebook became strange lately, so they make some kind of experiment where some things goes to one news feed and some to another one. So it is kind of. But I will look into it again. Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, well it's there. If you need it, I'll send it to you, or Kelsey will. But there's 3 groups on the universal file. So I did the first one, then in part 2, part 3, and just kind of a step at a time explained what's going on here. And we're just kind of moving into this with the boys, and because their karma's due, and it's just they're destroying everything. So again, seeing how we can offset this. Yeah. So and then I'm sure we will do radio shows and future broadcasts, but for right now, that's what's happening. And Claudia's not here today. She's not feeling well because she's going through a lot of this, and it's really bombards her. And so yeah, I know what it's like, because 2 years ago I was in the hospital, over 2 years ago, and that was my second big attack from the Kalam God because of what I'm doing here, So this is how it is. Most people don't see this, and most people are not going to understand, even the galactic people, maybe some of them, but it's whatever. All right, there's a lot taking place on the real side. So eventually we'll have a little radio show, and we'll bring more of it out. Yeah.
Vesna, do you have something to share? Oh, Charles is coming right now. I see.
Okay.
Oh, wait a moment. I'm looking. But so long he is not there, you can talk with Vesna.
There was somebody on Facebook has been molesting me lately, and so I know how to cut him off, but I decided not to do so. And Kelsey also get into the discussion a little bit. I have not even the clear idea who that guy imagine he is. My first idea was that he imagined he is the Satan himself or something, but I don't know really. And he picked up on me lately. He said because his grandpa found the way to the God by himself. So spirituality and religion should be free, which is all his bullshit. But it makes me wondering, really, how to explain the place of God in the life chart to somebody who is not familiar with those life levels. I really do not know where to start explaining that to those people, and most of people are like that, actually. Thank you.
Vesna. Okay, I guess Charles is here, but real fast. When you have something like that, sometimes I'm a little stumped too. In other words, I don't know what to say because of the questions that people ask. It's understandable. I'm ready for that. And the idea then is that I ask them, okay, so you're talking about your God or whatever. How do you see it? You know, in other words, if a person uses a particular word in a sentence that I don't understand, I ask them, well, what is the meaning of this word, or how do you see it, or how do you define this word? You know, like the word love, just as an example. Everybody has their idea of it, but you're going to be talking to individuals. So you ask them, well, what is your idea of love? Or what is your idea of your God, you see? And then you can work off of that and just have it fun. So, yeah, we don't have to be the big wisdom knowers about this stuff. I don't try to be that. I see how I can present it to where they will understand it, but working off of how they see it. Yeah, so that gives you a hint sometimes. So, yeah, we're always going to come across these things because there's a variety of everything out there. And is Charles here today?
Duane, I want us to look at this topic. What about parables? So would the new man give out the knowledge of the all is in parables in future? They say a parable is a story to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. So would the new man use parables at some time in the future? Or what do you think about parables?
Well, what would a parable be? It really is just another way of saying like a hint or a reference. I would see it that from where I'm standing and what I'm doing. So I would see it like that. And parable is, who came up with that word? Many of these words were created by the controllers, is really what they were. And people use these things as kind of an authority about things, right? And so realistically, we know that, according to the all isness, the isness life is, all you can do is hint at it. So if it's a parable, if it's a reference, if it's a hint, if it's a maybe, if it's a whatever, I like the idea of references, which is really the same thing. And the books, etc., it's all there. It's the same thing. And what is a parable? It's a story. It's a little bit of story, and it's told a certain way. Is really all it is. And so, it's already being done. It just, all of a sudden you realize it's really all the same thing. Everything in creation is really the same thing. It's just there's something for everybody. If it's an apple, an orange, or grape, or whatever, it's really something to, ingest, isn't it? It's all the same thing. It's just how we see it. And through that process, we more so eventually recognize this reality, because everything leads to that. Everything leads to that. So where we've gotten a little sidetracked here is, and this happens, is in the process of people being indoctrinated into thinking, using their mind instead of their real awareness, that the words and ideas that are created a particular way, if they're parables or ancient wisdom or all these things, that this is the ultimate, that people have discovered the ultimate, and they haven't. They're just hints into more hints. That's all, until you discover the true reality life is. And so the God idea is brought in to keep people literal, and also at the same time in a position of quandary, or thinking that there is a mystery to life, because you're not to know God. And even when you're presented with the opportunity to meet your God, would you do that? So again, we're already doing it, young man. References, parables, hints. I created a website with Kelsey Hints called Hints. It's all the same thing. We're already doing it. It's just that what we're doing is that you might say we're honestly doing it. We're not screwing with people's minds, okay, like the Bible makers have done. They've created these so-called parables that kind of screw with people's minds to where they don't really go anywhere, you see. But the references that I've created, it is direct with the all is to recognize it. That becomes the difference. We're not screwing around with people's minds or their feelings, etc. Yes, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, your reference to the Bible and to others. Okay, they say Jesus spoke in parables, and these parables were supposed to be for the commoners, and to the people of the inner circle, he gave the direct exoteric truths. And we also find the famous Harry. He has his egg parables there. And if you read the parables, you will find, it's he likes this proselytizing, telling very fine stories. And I think that is what you refer to as screwing with people's minds, or rather than being direct with the all is. Is that what you mean?
Exactly, and thank you for bringing that up. So we got Harry there with his marketing ploy, Harry and Joni, one of many, which they will also be, with the Queen of Orion, etc., because their time's coming up too. And that is, yes, when you look at what he's written and what he's presenting, and also the most important part is his intent and agenda. Okay, you look to the real side, what is his intent? And so the so-called parables, and also he's called himself the modern day prophet. Again, where does prophecy go? It's only in creation. It has no reference to the all is. Okay, people do not escape the matrix with this so-called wisdom that he's presenting. And the parables that he talks about, where do they go to? They just keep you going around and around in circles, thinking that, oh, I've got this knowledge, I've got that knowledge. It's like a mouse on a treadmill, going nowhere, because it doesn't refer to the true reality. What does he refer to? Spirit and God. And spirit basically is an astral idea. It's a reflection of the true reality life is, the isness. And the God idea, who's that? That's the Kalam God. It's all controlled. So much, it sounds divine, doesn't it? But really, who started the whole parable idea, these little cute stories? It was the Cabal. It was the reptilians. They started all this. Yeah, it didn't come from some divine source. The divine source is the reptilians. Again, you take the word, and I broke this down, divine, that's die on the vine. It's an old saying, oh, you're dying on the vine. And the idea of holy, which is really holes in your aura, which is tap lining. So these two words, holy and divine, were set up by the reptilians for people to be subliminally controlled. They're not what people think. They're not precious. They're not this or that. It's all tap lining and being controlled and going nowhere with the little parable stories. And Harold's doing the same thing too. Yeah, he puts all this stuff out there, and where does it go? It goes nowhere. It's all in creation, and it's all control, and it's really lower astral. Yes, go ahead, Charles. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and talking about prophecy, before I met you, I thought prophecy was very, let's say, high up there. It was something very special for some elected people, for the elite corps. But then your explanations have watered down everything, and I don't look at prophecy to be anything again. And you even said it, and now I can see it very clearly. You said anybody with a good observation and good intuition can be a prophet, can postulate. And if I see that it is true, people are just making a name based on the laziness of others to think for themselves and to just analyze the things going on around them. You see, and it's also, prophecy also feeds on this dependency syndrome. People would rather like to be told something than to work it out themselves. They'll make an authoritative figure of someone who claims to prophesy, and then keep worshiping him. I have just realized that the human being really is prone to worship and praying. And if he has nothing to worship, he will even go to a stone or a tree to pay allegiance to it. So that is what I see about prophecy. And actually, you gave me this eye opener to see that prophecy is something simple. In fact, if I were not the no presentation with this knowledge, I would have set up as a prophet already and start making predictions. Yeah.
Well, real fast, Charles, you can get a job with UPS or FedEx because they create prophecy every day. See, again, and they've made it a good business. You see, they're telling you, it'll be there tomorrow. You see. That's prophecy. I've said that before. It's really kind of funny, but people don't think about it like that. And really, that's all it is. And what we see from Nostradamus and all these people and different things in the Bible, they've created it. They had fun with it. They created the Bible. They put in these prophecy ideas, and then they make it come out. In other words, they say, okay, these two strange buildings are going to go down such and such at a certain time, and they create this parable that sounds far out, and then they make it happen. You see, so again, it's a good business. This is the business world. And again, FedEx, UPS, and DHL, and all the other ones out there too. They're prophets, and they're making profits from their profits, from their prophecies. You see, that's the interesting thing. Yes, and so Chris has done a little thing on this, and you see how it all intertwines. You see how it all fits. It looks a particular way. You're thinking that, holy and divine and all this stuff, but then all of a sudden you kind of step aside from it and look at it another way. It's like, oh, geez, this is nothing. It's all just foo-foo made up. But it is important. In other words, yes, and we've come through the spiritual paths too, and they said, well, this is illusion, this is Maya. Well, again, that's a distortion. Yes, it is that. I call it a simulator. Okay. Again, it's practice, like a simulator. You practice batting. You get in a batting cage. You practice hitting the ball. You hitting a golf ball. You practice being a pilot in a simulator, whatever. And the soldiers, they have computers now where they practice war games and all these things. So again, yes, it's a simulator, but it's very important for us to practice until we get to that point where we recognize what's going on. All of a sudden we recognize that. So that's what you have done, young man. You've stepped up. You've had the courage to go through this and try and figure it out. And once you do, all of a sudden at some point you start to see it. It's seeing it. It's recognizing and seeing. And then you keep going. It's like, well, how does this, you might say, communication with this reality, how does that work? But eventually you see it. It's not about feelings. It's not about love. But you can love this reality, okay? You can love the adventure, love being with it. Yeah, that makes sense. But because it is a constant discovery of this reality, and you realize that after a while, that at a certain point, you don't need creation anymore. It's so cool. So in the meantime, yes, these games that are played, it's basically, it's a business. You see in the last couple hundred years how the United States has been created as what? A business center. This is what they've wanted because they can, those that, the reptilians, they can control all this with what's going on. At the same time, unfortunately, and it's fine. Everybody can have what they want, but unfortunately, they're destroying the world at the same time, so that's not good. So we've stepped in to do some funny things to see what's going on, and so that's where we're bringing forth what's happening on the real side, some of the things that we've made. But in the meantime, yes, you're recognizing these things as the fallacy, and most people are caught up because the first humans were taught to worship and pray. This indoctrination is in history subliminally. It's very huge with the influence. You have the influence, and you have the supreme deceptor that supersedes all, even the gods of man and lords of karma and whatever, etc. This creation is solid with this deception because people have accepted it. First, it took agreement. It's like a contract that you make. You do a business deal, you write up a contract, and the people sign it. Well, that's an agreement. And through all the eons, it has been agreed to by most people unconsciously to agree to all the subliminal control. And now, this is where I wrote this group, Facing Yourself. The interesting thing is that as you step up and realistically face these things, just simply face them and see them for what they are, they will basically vanish. That's all. You don't have to hold to anything. You just learn to see what it is. Learn to see what it is not. But you need this to eventually compare to what is real. Little by little you see it. So all this process is very, very interesting. And as each person takes the time to see it for what it is, it will come out and start to resolve itself. It will, as you just take the time to see it. It's so cool how it is. And then by that very seeing it, eventually you become it. And the personal self and the lower five bodies just vanish. And you're a full awareness, and it's awesome with other beings that are fully aware. And the adventure goes on endlessly. It's so cool, isn't it? Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Charles. Go ahead.